Hey everyone, it's Lori MacVittie, Distinguished Engineer and Chief Evangelist at F5, and we're back to talk about a couple of items on our application delivery top 10 list. And I brought back Kunal because he was really interested in talking about them. You want to tell the people who you are in case they forgot?
Hi, everybody. My name's Kunal. I'm F5's Chief Innovation Officer. And Lori, I'm excited to have a distinguished conversation with a distinguished engineer. Let's
That's right.
do
We,
this.
we should be wearing vests and hats because we
I
have
need
to.
a monocle. I think I need a monocle.
Ooh.
That would be pretty cool right now.
But that's actually a great lead in into the topic you wanted to discuss, right?
Look at you.
Observability. Did you do
Look
that?
at you.
Right?
Nicely done.
Incomplete observability, which of course a monocle would kind of imply because there's only one, right? You need two. So why is incomplete observability on an application delivery top 10 list? I think that's the question.
All right. So let's maybe unpack the phrase or the word observability for folks. Uh, we get to have lots of conversations, you and I, with many organizations and partners globally. And when we have a conversation about like what is bothering people right now, like what are the things that are troubling them, what's top of mind, they'll bring up lack of visibility or lack of observability around what is fundamentally happening at the network. One thing that we hear and we see a lot about is people just don't know what's happening between applications and APIs. They have no idea who's accessing information. They have no idea where that information is going. They're unaware of various flows between all the different pieces in their infrastructure, whether it's all in one environment or going between different environments. People just don't know what's going on. And that can sometimes be a reflection on or be based on the fact that they may not have the right logging, they may not have the right monitoring solutions in place. They may not know exactly what to monitor and log. They may not know how to catch that information. They don't know how to process that information, how to mine that for signals. And, this is not just oh, I flipped on logging and I'm good. No, you have to do something with this and you have to actually process the information. You have to make it meaningful. And then once you've made it meaningful, you have to take some sort of action. And so I think whether it's observability, visibility, I think that there is a major challenge that companies have today, and companies are absolutely trying to figure out how they can get not just through this, but I think they're trying to figure out what it means for them, and they're trying to figure out how to improve the situation in their organizations.
Yeah, I love that. Really, it's about getting the right signals. A lot of the challenges that people will say, oh, I can't optimize performance. And part of the reason is they don't have visibility into the signals they need to figure out why they're having challenges, right? It's like, well, it's just bad. That's just the way it is. It's not a good thing for their apps at all.
Lori, real talk for a question for a second.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Do you remember there was an era when everyone would enable logging from all of their network devices and they would just like send all of those logs to a SIM and like nobody would look at it and no one would like actually mine it for interesting events or signals because it's just too much information, too much stuff. You remember that era, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that, right? You end up with and gigs and gigs and gigs of just data. And sometimes not in the same format. I think that's the thing
Yeah.
we miss is that for a long time this has all been in different formats. There's W3C, there's this other format, there's, system log. You're like this doesn't even match. I don't know what's going on.
And I think what we're trying to say is when people are standing up observability programs now, it's no longer just I am logging and capturing everything and dumping it into a SIM and I'll figure it out later. That's not what we're talking about, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
No.
you and I have seen this before. What are you seeing in terms of visibility and observability and what companies are striving for today?
Well, I think they want real-time observability and they want the metrics that matter to application performance, to availability, to understanding not to get ahead in our list, but how to utilize resources properly, right? Observability, kind of like DNS, right, is kind of one of the foundations of a modern application delivery like strategy and system, because it's going to be able to find all those metrics and then keep them in a similar format, right? Open telemetry is winning for a reason. And
Right.
organizations are adopting it because it normalizes all of these metrics, and then you can mine it and you can make decisions in real time. And that's really what's going to drive great application delivery.
You mentioned performance. I would say in the maybe if you go back a decade or 2 decades ago, when people were looking at observability or visibility at the network layer, most of it was around performance, right? We needed to find a way to accelerate networks. We needed to find a way to accelerate application flows, API flows, et cetera. That's changed because now when people are thinking about observability, to your point, and I think if you zoom out, it's not just about performance anymore because there's always been players that have catered into that market. But I think what we're now seeing are people who are thinking about security. They're thinking about governance. As an example, should this application talk to this other application, right? Should this service communicate with this other service? That obviously has led to a lot of different industries forming in a lot of different niche areas in networking, like areas like microsegmentation became a thing for a little bit because we wanted to understand whether it made sense, or we wanted to ring fence or put controls around these things. So we also kind of touch on how information is moving. Like it's not just that this application is communicating with another application or APIs. It's not just about east-west traffic, but it's about the data that's also moving between these systems. And so observability isn't just about performance. It's not just about, is this person allowed to do this? Is this service allowed to do this? But also about the information that's moving in these environments. And I think if you can provide that complete picture, and if you're an operator of a network or a series of applications or these production environments, and now you can see holistically, here's everything that's going on. Here are the information flows. Here's the data that's being exchanged. Here's the users, the groups, the access controls that were leveraged or used, or credentials that were used in this transaction. I think that's super impactful, don't you think?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about more context around the data than that's going back and forth. We already do that by, hey, this data shouldn't be in this payload. But now let's look at, right, that data should be, but it shouldn't be between these two apps, right? So we're getting smarter, and in observability is going to allow us to be able to do those kinds of inspections and gain insights and be able to better protect things just by being able to see what's going on. So observability, huge, huge, especially for it actually feeds some of the other topics you want to talk about, but not today because we're over time. So we'll have to come back and we'll talk about some more of these items on this top 10 list next time. Okay.
Totally. I'm just glad this one made the list. So thanks for having me.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks, everybody.